We have just a couple of things that we want to say to you, just as a sort of basis so that we all get off on the same vibrational wavelength. First, you are vibration. We've already talked about that. Next, you are always emitting a signal. So you're always transmitting a signal that law of attraction is responding to. Law of attraction is bringing to you thoughts and experiences that match the signal that you're offering. And as you're moving through your days, even though there are a lot of different subjects, you don't vary that much on the signal that you're offering, because how you feel is pretty much how you feel. Now, we know you have highs and lows and ups and downs. You're all sort of bipolar. You are, because you are sometimes in complete alignment with who you are and feeling your empowerment, which means you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're full of enthusiasm. You just want to talk, you just want to share, you just want to move, you just want to exhibit the happiness that you feel, and sometimes not so much. And the reason that sometimes not so much is because sometimes you get focused upon things that you've been focused upon before that have sort of strong attraction power. So you can be up and down and up and down and up and down many times during a day. You just usually aren't that up and down. The tone of the day is sort of usually what goes through the day. You say, oh, this has been a bad day, or I've got out of bed on the wrong side, or I'm off on the wrong foot. So we really want to talk about, and we will with you all the hours that we're together, we want to talk about setting that vibrational tone. And after we tell you a couple of stories that will help you to understand why that's so important, then we'll just move forward into the things that you specifically want to talk about. So, you were source energy before you came into this physical body. Some of you are understanding that. Do you know that? And even though you were that then, and then you came into this body, you still are that now, even though you're in this body. In other words, there is a non-physical counterpart to you, a balanced counterpart. It's this pure positive energy you that every time you sift through the desired by you contrast in your time-space reality, you launch a preference. We call them rockets of desires, because they move outward from you. You project them, you emit them, you transmit them. And when you transmit that signal of desire, this non-physical part of you immediately becomes a vibrational equivalent of that new amended you that just happened because of this expansion that just took place. Which means every time you emit a new desire, there is now a potential of you being split from it, of you having split energy, because you just became something more vibrationally that you're not physically, in terms of your now personality, up to speed with. And that we just explained to you right there is the reason for literally every emotion that you feel. Because when you've become something that you're not up to speed with, you feel that difference. As you come to be up to speed with it, then you feel the ease and clarity that comes from that. So all day long, you are in varying degrees in alignment or not, in allowance or not, of that furthest expanded part of you. And nothing else is important for you to ever understand about anything, because you came to be the creator of your own experience, and you are that all day long. And you are launching these rockets, and the larger part of you is becoming them and holding the signal of that new expanded you with such clarity, with such brilliance, with such high-powered wattage of vibrational output, that you can feel in every moment your vibrational relationship to that. It's just that simple. Now, we know for some of you, if it's new in hearing that's sort of a boring, maybe even hard concept to get your thoughts around, but we promise by the time that we are at the ending today, you will understand that fully, because nothing matters more than that you are moving in the direction of that which you have become. You don't have to be up to speed with it completely. You don't have to know it, because in the moment you know it, it's manifested, and there's a whole lot of fun on the journey. So we're not talking about closing the gap and standing there in a closed gap, because you were born into an experience where you intended to have plenty of step one moments where contrast causes you to ask. So you're going to ask all day, and you're going to have gaps always between who you have become and what you are allowing yourself to be. We're not talking about getting rid of that gap. We're asking you to manage it. We're asking you to enjoy the vibrational ride of moving in the direction of what you've become instead of moving in opposition to what you've become. That's all. Because there's always going to be a new desire. There's always going to be a new journey. There's always going to be more that you are on your way to allowing yourself to manifest fully. So we don't want you to be tentative and guarded about trying to control your thoughts. We want you to think clearly. We just want you to gently and often guide your thoughts in the direction of what feels good to you. Because when you guide your thoughts in the direction of what feels good to you, now you are on your path. Now you feel good. Now all is well. And did we say it's an eternal path? Did we say that it never ends? Did we say you never get it done and you can't get it wrong? Well, we want to say it's an eternal path. You never get it done, and you can't get it wrong either. You can't get it wrong. You can feel crappy. That's Esther's word. It says so much about so many things. You can feel bad, but you can't get it wrong because it's never done. Because in every one of those bad feeling moments, you're launching rockets and you've evolved to more. But what if you're on a path where you don't know this stuff or you're not applying it very well, and so you're launching a rocket and not keeping up with it, and so you don't feel so good, and so then you're moving through more contrast and launching another rocket and not keeping up with it, so you don't feel so good. Can you see how continuing to ask and not move in the direction of is what makes you feel uncomfortable? So stop it. We have one small story to tell you, and we think it lays the basis of everything that we're going to be talking today really well for you. So imagine that you're standing here as your point of attraction, and that law of attraction is going to help you rendezvous with everything that is vibrationally active within you. So it's like there's a pipeline between you and what you've been thinking about, wanted and unwanted. So we call this pipeline the path of least resistance, because as you think about it, you offer a thought that opens the pipeline, a thought that you hold for as little as 17 seconds is powerful enough. But once you cross the 17-second mark, we're not kidding you. This is precise. Another thought like it joins it. That thought's more powerful. So the path of least resistance between you and what you're thinking about is that much more. By the time you hold it for another 17 and then another 17, so you cross the 68-second mark, that path of least resistance is significant enough that there is going to be some demonstration to you if you're aware. The demonstration will come, you might miss it, but there's going to be some demonstration of the pathway you've laid. So Esther has some beautiful water features in Texas. It's at the Abraham Hicks Center, and there's a headwater and a little stream, and it comes down some rapids and falls into a bigger pond. And the stream was getting cloudy, and so it was finally determined, after trying a lot of different things, that the pipes that were putting the water back in, first pipes take it into the filter filters it and aerates it and puts it back into the stream, and those coming back in pipes were clogged. So the stream was cloudy, couldn't see the fish. So they just laid some new pipes, didn't dig the old ones up, they were buried really deep, just laid some new pipes, didn't bury them quite as deep, and now the pond is clear again. So we began saying to our friends, you friends, you may have some clogged pipes, because if you're asking for things that aren't coming, it may be that you've got some clogged pipes. So it was a sort of fun analogy to play with. Let's get those pipes open, and the better you feel, the more your pipes are open. But then later the analogy began to evolve, and Esther heard us say, as she's listening back on one of the recordings, that those pipes closed up from neglect. And something about that just jumped out to her. And so she sat and wrote with us. She's working on a new book. We are writing it. It's called the grid, which really is the label that we're giving to what your point of attraction is. What are you doing? It's like a grid or a framework that's filling in with the details, but what are you vibrationally building? What grid have you established that is filling in with all of the details? And so as Esther is thinking about these pipes that have clogged up with neglect, we said to her, there are things that you've opened a path of least resistance to that you don't want a rendezvous with. So why not let those pipes close up from neglect, lack of attention? And there are those things that you really want to establish a pathway to, a path of least resistance to. So why not keep those pipes open by attention? So we just want to say to you, in the simplest way, you heard that so completely, that anytime you're opening a path that's leading to something that you do not want, every time, no exceptions, you feel negative emotion. And every time you're opening a path that's leading you to something you do want, every single time, no exception, you feel positive emotion.